The objective of the mission Malta of Médecins du Monde France was to facilitate the access to healthcare in the migrant population coming to Malta, especially the migrant population which is coming by Malta and then asking and claiming asylum in Malta. We worked in the two main centers, in the two main open centers, which have a population, so to say, of about 700 to even 800 people. One center is a big center, an ex-economic school, so a center with normal concrete buildings. Another center is entirely a center of tents. And in these both centers, we offered the medical consultations. So one of the center, the one in the school, in the former school building, is entirely male, meaning mostly single male population. And in the tents, there were some couples and women living. Besides the medical consultations, we offered as well preventive workshops with women in smaller centers. Many of the women and families and children and single women with children and so forth, the more vulnerable groups. We have then written and published in a press conference a final report on this mission. Our experiences are obviously larger and more profound in the open centers, where we gathered a lot of data. The data on the pathologies, and we did as well around 220 questionnaires on access to healthcare, and as well the description of the living conditions in the open centers, as well as the main problems of accessing healthcare. In the open centers, the most frequent pathological groups are dermatological problems, and where as well problems of gastroenterological diseases, and quite a high prevalence of psychosomatic and somatoform diseases, about 10 to 12%. The problems in accessing healthcare were mainly problems not linked to the real legal entitlement or communication of physical access of the migrants, but more to the experience of discrimination and denied access to healthcare. Another part of the report is on detention, and it has been written mainly in collaboration with one of the local associations who regularly works there, and as well includes this part our experiences on the one-day visit we did to detention. The detention is the main problem regarding health and access to healthcare and human rights in the setting of Malta. That meaning that in detention, Malta has an administrative detention process of about 12 to 18 months. That means everybody who arrives at Malta is detained and just waiting for his asylum claim to be proceeded and interviewed in the end. And the conditions in detention are very deplorable, and therefore creating a lot of problems as well on the level of health and healthcare. We included as well some recommendations to the European level. And first of all, regarding the open centers, we recommended to continue the consultations on site in the both main open centers, to continue these medical consultations in proximity for a variety of reasons, and as well to keep on improving the living conditions in the open centers, which are, especially in the case of the two main ones, still quite difficult. Regarding detention, we had a lot of recommendations. The most important one is to say that Médecins du Monde thinks that a detention of persons, asylum seekers, in the conditions we found in Malta and who have been described through our visit and through other NGOs, is in the end an inhuman practice which poses a threat as well to the health of this migrant population. Then we did a lot of recommendations on how to improve the procedure of vulnerable cases, to include an assessment of vulnerabilities on medical grounds, to not detain single women with any man together. We recommended to implement activities in the detention where there's no activities taking place at all. And in the end, our report as well calls upon the European institutions to be not only aware of the very inhuman living conditions of detention in Malta, but to try to engage in a productive dialogue with the Maltese government to change this detention policy and the reality of this of detention in Malta. Médecins du Monde certainly plans as of today to return in about 6 to 7 months' time for 1 or 2 weeks to make a post-evaluation of how much and how our recommendations have been implemented. We had a strong collaboration with local partners, which we will follow up, and they try to follow up the implementation of certain recommendations. We certainly plan to go back there and to assess the situation more superficially, in the sense not to make another mission, but to assess the situation and to look into the changes who have been taking place or not.